Hey everyone, this is Exploring Fiction, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be doing a book review of Needle Ash, Book 2 in the Eternal Dream series by David V. Stewart. So, this fantasy book I was pretty excited for, as I read Book 1 of the series, The Water of Awakening, and though it had its issues, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So going into this book, I was definitely very excited to see what Stewart could do and how he could encapsulate me in this world once again. So, just to give a little brief synopsis, the main character of this book, Michael Harthino, the second son and prince of the land of Ardaland, was discharged from his position of High Captain after seemingly winning the day in a battle. And he starts to believe that there is a greater conspiracy going on behind the scenes that tackled him from his position and is threatening everything he knows and loves. So that's just kind of summarizing the back blurb of the book. But now I really want to get into my thoughts and let you know what my opinions were regarding Needle Ash. So I'll start off with the negatives. The first negative to me was that there were almost too many plot twists. Well, this point will connect to my next negative point. I just thought that this book, every time you thought there was a plot twist, and that it would be the big one, it seemed like there was another one. So every time you thought, oh, they finally figured out that this person is the real bad guy, it would then swerve in another direction and say, no, this person might be the real bad guy, or this person might be the real bad guy, and you're left wondering, so are all these people really bad, or is just one of them, or is one of them controlling all the other ones, or are they working together? And it's hard to figure out till the very end which characters are truly the bad guys and which characters are being controlled, and if any of them are actually good and mistakenly labeled as bad. And so once you get to the end of the book, that clears up a little bit, but it kind of left me scratching my head for a lot of the story. And like I said, that ties into my second negative point, which is the promise of an aspect of this book being a political thriller, and that wasn't really delivered on. So it says right here on the back blurb that Michael begins to unravel the plot that has left him a powerless second son of the kingdom, and he is forced to step into an arena as deadly as that of battle, politics, but he's a soldier, not a politician. So from reading that, you would think that there would be some almost like medieval court drama, political thriller aspect of the story, but really there wasn't, as far as I could see. I mean, there are a lot of cool aspects of this book that I'll get to later in my positive talk, but political thriller was not really ever on my mind as what this book was trying to be, and so that was a little bit disappointing, seeing that it promised partly to be a political thriller, but it didn't really deliver on that. But I think it made up for it in other ways, which I'll get to later. Another negative is that it lacked a major sense of urgency in some places. So you would think that Michael, who was stripped of his position and left as the second son of the king, but with no real authority left after the first 2 chapters or so, it would really be urgent to figure out who did this to him and why. And though that is mostly what the story's about, I never really felt that he was in mortal danger or any of his loved ones or friends or people he was trying to help were in clear and present danger. It always felt like he was kind of meandering to his goals of finding out what happened, not really sprinting there. And that was not disappointing, but not exactly as fast-paced as I imagined. My next negative is that the ending felt a bit rushed. So, the last 2 chapters of the book have a lot of content in them. And when I got to the third to last chapter, I thought there was no way that Stewart was going to be able to write all that he had said had set up for the next few chapters in 2 chapters, but somehow he did, and well, he did it very, very well, and I thought that he crafted the narrative as best he could. I thought that those 2 chapters just felt a little bit rushed just because of how big of a scale the conflict was at the end, and I felt that it just deserved more to flesh it out. Finally, my last critique is that this book probably needed an extra proofread. So, well, this isn't much to do with the actual content of the story. There were just a decent amount of typos that stood out to me and kind of erased my immersion in the story for a few seconds. Now, it doesn't really bother me as much as some people might be bothered by typos, but I still just felt like I have to point it out. Now let's move on to the positives. For me, the main positive by far is the characters, both the main characters and the side characters on both sides. The characters just felt very real to me, and I fell in love with almost all of them immediately. I mean, I won't give away any spoilers, but the 2 main protagonists, Michael and Sharona, they both felt like they had their own distinct personalities, and they were great. I loved spending time with both of them, and a lot of the side characters I just loved. Like, I'll name a few without going into spoilers, but Angelico and Guisali and Langelo were all great. And then there are a few who would be going into spoiler territory, especially for the first book of the series, Water of Awakening, that I just loved, and I loved seeing them again, and I love seeing the newer ones who just felt so fleshed out farther than what they should have been for this story. The next positive about this book was the romance. So I won't go into spoilers, but the main romance, which was the B plot of this story, I just felt developed very fluidly, and it made sense for the 2 chaotic characters involved, and I loved everything about it. So, to make sure I don't spoil anything, I won't name names, but I'll just say the main romance I loved. The next positive for me was the setting. It felt very believable, and the world was extremely immersive. Now, some fantasy worlds feel almost too grand, or too unbelievable almost, but this setting, the Divine Strand as it is called, between Ardaland, Ferala, and the mentioning of the Kingdom of Structania, it felt very real, and Stewart described it and alluded to it all in a way that was very believable, and just being dropped into this world was a great experience. Now, on to my overall thoughts. So, to conclude, I would say Needle Ash is an exciting fantasy story with emphasis on military and tactics, as Stewart promises as a military fantasy book, and it truly is that. The promise he alluded to of having an aspect of a political thriller wasn't really anywhere to be found in this book, but the lovable characters and the fantastic world really made up for it for me, and this book took me on an exciting journey, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone who's a fantasy fan, not just military fantasy, but fantasy in general. So, those are my thoughts and quick review of Needle Ash by David V. Stewart. Thanks everyone for watching, especially if you got this far. Like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you thought of this book, if you've even read this book, and if you like David V. Stewart and his work. I will link his channel in the description because he is a great content creator, and I love hearing what he has to say on all different sorts of topics, but especially writing. Have a good day, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye.